Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Final Fantasy XIII-2. I played it on the Xbox One because that's really the only way to play backwards compatible games right now. That being said, I did originally play it on the PS3 back when the PS3 was a current gen console. So let's get started with the story. You play as Sarah Farron, the younger sister to Lightning, one of the protagonists from Final Fantasy XIII. Her sister has gone missing, and she's the only one who remembers that her sister is missing. Everybody else thinks her sister is supposed to be missing and not around because she did something heroic. Whereas Sarah remembers her sister being, alive and well and doing fine and hanging out with the family and whatnot. And to sum things up pretty easily, Sarah discovers she's gonna have to jump around through time in order to try and rescue her sister. She finds out that an individual named Caius Ballard is basically going around and doing all sorts of weird things in the timeline. He is trying to stop her because he has his own selfish reasons for doing so. Sarah is aided by a Moogle, which feels wildly out of place. It does transform into her weapon, so I guess that kind of works, but it's one of the Moogles, the old Moogles, so it feels really kind of weird. They didn't design their own Moogle to fit into this world, so it just feels a little out of place. But she is also joined by Noel, who is there to help her. Noel is from way far in the future when humanity is basically about to die and he is probably the last human. So they go on their adventure to rescue Lightning and stop Caius and do all that jazz and fix the timelines, etc. I don't want to get too deep into it because, quite frankly, I don't fully understand the story. I think it's kind of weird and time travel-y and fuckery. I don't necessarily love the story because I find time travel is a very tough thing to do a great story with. I think it can be done, but it's very easy to fuck up. As for the audio is well done. I like the sound effects and I love the voiceover work in this game. I think they have some excellent voiceover work. I admittedly don't love the music as much in this Final Fantasy. I think the music in Final Fantasy XIII-2 is very weird. There's a lot more vocals than you are used to, and it's very poppy. While the music is well orchestrated and I like the vocals, and to an extent I do enjoy the music, it just felt weird to me and it feels like the vocals are a little unnecessary at times. Overall, the music is just not my favorite in all of the Final Fantasies. Speaking of audio, you might hear some wind going on because there's some crazy fucking wind going on while I'm recording this. As for the gameplay, Final Fantasy XIII-2 tries to have similar gameplay, that sort of turn-based active battle time system as Final Fantasy XIII, but it does a lot of things that I just don't think work as well. Starting with the capturing of the monsters, which you can then use in your party. You can level them up in a weird kind of way, which I don't like. It's by using items essentially rather than experience, and I didn't like that. On top of that, I feel like the monsters, which they'll fill the roles of Sentinel, Ravager, Synergist, etc., just like Final Fantasy XIII's party members would. The problem is each one of them has their limits. They can only level so far and they only get certain abilities. It just gets kind of frustrating. By the time I was done, I did build a party that I liked, but I didn't love as much as I would have just having another party member, like a proper party member. You can also level Sarah and Noel up any way you'd like. Essentially, you can give them all of the different roles, but once again, they're very limited in those roles. For example, Sarah, I made her a medic right away, and I maxed her out, got her to level 99 medic, and she never learned Cura or Isana, so what good is she as a medic in reality? I just didn't feel like that worked as well. The way you do equipment doesn't work as well. You can't upgrade your weapons or equipment. You just have to find more equipment, which you're limited to by a point system because you can only have a maximum of 100 points, and you can fill that up with 2 items. So it doesn't make sense that you can have 4 item slots, but you can't actually use 4 items. Also, the lack of a Libra ability is just annoying, so you really just have to battle and battle and battle to actually learn enemies' weaknesses. It gets frustrating. And also, there are some really frustratingly designed levels. Actually, it's specifically the same level, just in 2 different time periods, and it's just not fun. One thing that they did do really well and really cool that I found anyways was the monsters do just kind of appear on the map. They're not always there like in Final Fantasy XIII. They'll just appear, but you're able to go up and whack them. And the reason I like that is because that triggers a preemptive strike, so you don't have to try and sneak up on an enemy that you don't know where its back is and that it magically sees you from. So that's one thing that they actually improved upon from Final Fantasy XIII. That's sadly really the only thing they improved upon. Everything else they brought over from 13 just wasn't done as well. They tried to change it and they changed it for the worse. Also, I'm gonna put this in here. I don't know if this was due to this being the 360 version or this is just because it's an Xbox One version. This weird backwards compatibility issue, something like that. But this game ran like shit. The amount of lag and stuttering I ran into, it was infuriating at times. I mean, it would happen during gameplay, it would happen during cutscenes. It should not have happened as much. And I don't remember it happening on the PS3. I feel like that's something that really would have stood out to me. As for the controls worked fine. I don't really have any complaints with that. They responded the way I needed them to. And I mean, it is an RPG, so it's not like I need them to be as crazy responsive or crazy precise as, say, a first-person shooter, but they worked well and I don't have any reason to complain about the controls. And lastly, the graphics. I gotta say, it's still a really good looking game. I still like the way it looks. Yeah, it's not up there with the best stuff from the modern gen, but it's still good. I like the art style, I like the visuals. I gotta admit some of the fashion choices are a little weird, and Sarah is dressed in a really kind of revealing manner at all times. It's very much one of those comical things in RPGs where women are scantily clad and yet somehow still super safe and well protected. But that being said, I did like the monsters, I did like the overall art style. Caius was a little weird looking, but overall I enjoyed the visuals. Again though, I want to point out the Moogle seemed really out of place. His art style is just weird. He looks like a living cute, adorable stuffed animal. I think they could have done something different with that. Or get rid of the Moogle entirely and just have a new party member. Something like that. Overall, I gotta say, unless you were just a huge fan of Final Fantasy XIII, 13-2 is fine to skip because I really just didn't love it. Although I will admit, as I have played the entire trilogy, you do kind of need to know what happened in it to play the third game, but in reality you could totally skip it, go watch a YouTube video of what happened in Final Fantasy XIII-2 and it wouldn't kill ya. So this is one of those ones where I'm just gonna say, unless you're a diehard fan, feel free to skip it. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me if you are a diehard Final Fantasy fan? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.